breaking news. The big news, of course, over the night was that Columbia had their Hamilton building, Hamilton Hall, you want to pull this up, had been invaded by far leftists. They smashed the windows out with hammers. Columbia threatened to expel them after they had stormed into the building. We now have some breaking news that came out just a few minutes ago. We're going to play this video. Officers being assaulted on CCNY campus in New York. I wonder if he means CUNY.
No, it's City College of New York.
City of College. Okay, all right. Reporters say situation is out of control. Here's the clip. We'll turn the volume down a little bit. Arrests are being made. And then we have this tweet from just before 8. Colin Ruggs saying Jewish girl at UCLA was sent to the ER after being beaten unconscious by pro-Palestine protesters. The incident reportedly happened at Dickerson Plaza. According to, quote, that Korean Jew on Instagram, who was a medical student at UCLA, the girl was surrounded by 5 people. She suffered a concussion and was unable to recognize her family when she woke up. Thankfully, she is in stable condition. And then we do have another tweet here. I mean, there's so much going on. This is Anthony Cabasa, who was surrounded by these extremists. They wouldn't let him leave. And then ultimately they say that he was robbed. His property was stolen. I'm assuming they took his phone. I'm not entirely sure. This following the insane videos out of Columbia's Hamilton Hall, where they're smashing out the windows. They're wearing these scarves over their heads. They're wearing masks and goggles as they take over the building. And their demands, they have none. The demands, actually, do I have the demand video up here somewhere? I don't know if I do. It's a woman basically saying, we want food. You know, we want food and water. And there's a reporter like, well, you went in the building. What are you saying? And she's like, we're just saying that we paid for meal plans and we want our food. And it's like, but you went into that building. Like, now you're asking them to give you food.
You made it impossible for the university to operate.
Right.
And then you're saying the university isn't providing you services you paid for.
Then she's like, no, I'm just saying that they shouldn't bar us when we're trying to bring food in. And then a reporter asks, have they done that? And she's like, well, I mean... I don't know. I'm just saying they shouldn't.
The great irony
That's their
is,
demand.
like, we just had NatCon in Brussels, and they did exactly that. The Belgian police surrounded the venue, prevented the food and water from coming in, prevented sitting politicians from entering with this security detail. But these kids are doing it on a college campus because they know this is the ultimate safe space, because essentially the faculty, particularly at places like Harvard and the like, who have already indicted themselves as agreeing with this insane suicidal mind virus, they know they're not going to be cracked down on as they would were they elsewhere. And so they are in a completely comfortable position to do this performative activism.
That's a good point as to why they're choosing to occupy universities. Because the university doesn't want to kick out their customers. That's it.
That's why it's threatened to suspend, right? This is going on everywhere. They keep threatening to do it. The students know ultimately they need their tuition money, and they don't think that Columbia will follow through. Yale said that they threatened to suspend their students and arrest them, and then they closed down their encampment immediately. The thing that is most interesting to me is that the NYPD can't go on to Columbia's campus without them. And there are a lot of colleges in New York, but Columbia is unique in the sense that it has like a physical campus as opposed to like NYU, which has buildings in an area.
The NYPD can't go on to Columbus.
They have to have Columbia's permission to go on. Columbia has its own police force, technically. Obviously, they're doing a great job. But
they're doing what the administration wants them to do.
Right. They can only go on if there's imminent threat of danger or if the university says it's okay. And so these students know that ultimately it's worse PR for Columbia. Columbia is not going to be able to make everyone happy, and they're completely committed to what they're doing. I don't think any of them actually care because they are completely deranged on the idea that they are serving this greater cause.
Yeah.
Most you're going to get is a fine as well, because then they can just extract more money out of the students without seeing that they are rebuking the ideological priors which they have already wedded themselves to.
In Florida, I think they said they banned the students for 3 years. I say what the universities should do is no refunds. You pay your tuition, no refunds.
Yeah,
if you can't come back, but no refunds.
You can't support a prescribed terrorist group. I mean, I have zero sympathy for these people when they're thrown out. So look, I'm not Jewish. I don't care about Israel more than I do Iceland, frankly. But when you are supporting a prescribed terrorist group that would also like to wage intifada or jihad against the host nation you are in, and you're actively damaging property, yeah, you should be persecuted for this. The reason should not be, as you guys have talked about before, though, they're committing anti-Semitic speech, because where were you when they were burning effigies of Michael Knowles in the street? Where were you when they were actively discriminating against white people? Or banging on the windows of Jordan Peterson's speech, trying to break in like you're a zombie horde?
Well,
nobody...
Knowles is Catholic, though, so no one cared.
Excuse me.
But it's true. Nobody, there's no outrage because Michael Knowles is just a Catholic, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a tweet. I should have pulled it up, but someone said, so if you firebomb buildings, take over cities, no one cares. But if you protest Israel, then it's shut down, right? And Mike Cernovich says, at least that's what it looks like to a lot of people. Now, you can make the argument that there's a lot of stuff going on here that's different. Look, we watched for months as far leftists firebombed a federal building. They used explosives, mortars in I believe it was in Portland, right?
Yeah.
They had the Chaz in Seattle. They had the George Floyd Autonomous Zone in Minnesota. They had the Wendy's Autonomous Zone in Atlanta, whatever they called that one. And they were allowed to just exist and take over a police station. Now, they're smashing windows, sure. They're still allowing them to stay there. So I don't know that the argument is actually as what people see. But the response from Democrats and the response from Republicans in government is more than we've seen for anything else. So certainly the perception is if you actively oppose U.S. foreign policy to the point where you're this rowdy, yeah, they're going to have to shut you down.
It's the moral potency of the post-war order, basically. So since 1945, and the European Union have recently come out of this with their continent-wide history curriculum. Essentially, the atrocities of Nazi Germany serve as a negative foundation myth for the liberal world order. And this is why they constantly say far right. What they mean is any nation, any ethnic group, any people other than the Jewish people who were persecuted by the Nazis, who act in defense of their own culture, history, nation, or ethnicity, are identical to the Nazis, even if those nations fought Adolf Hitler. For example, in the UK, we already have a Churchill statue. You'd think that would be our Holocaust memorial. But no, we're building one right next to Parliament, even though we were the nation that led the charge in defeating it. So, what they've got here, if these students, in the name of far leftism, are attacking Jewish people in the state of Israel, that is more powerful than the anti-racism narrative because the original inciting incident to the post-war order was the persecution of the Jews, and from there, all other groups are compared to it. This is why, for example, like slavery and the Holocaust are often compared.
Yeah.
And this is why, when Phil brings up repressive tolerance, this is actually it's not just Mark Hughes, it's Karl Popper's original paradox of tolerance, which was setting the tone for the post-war liberal order. It wasn't just that we can't be tolerant of the intolerant, it was we can't be intolerant of the intolerant, which are, quote-unquote, the far right. So the far right are always the boogeyman, and this is why the far left are tolerated.
He articulates that or Mark Hughes articulates that too. He specifies that that they must censor even the thought of people on the right. That any ideas that they must censor before the thoughts can be uttered. That's why they're so concerned about making sure that people can't speak ideas that are offensive to the left, because anything on the left is automatically good and anything from the right is automatically bad.
They're hitting cops. They're attacking people. There's a viral video of a guy he's wearing a Star of David. They won't let him on the ground. They're barring him. There's Anthony Cabasa, who's surrounded, and he says his property was stolen. Okay, send in the police. Arrest them all. Lock them all up. Boot them all out. We're done. AOC comes out and she's like, we must make sure that the peaceful protesters are allowed to protest. I know they can all go. When these people in large groups tell other people you don't get free speech, they stand alongside in solidarity, then we take collective action. So if 10% of this group are, I'll tell you this. When I was at Occupy Wall Street, and the subsequent protests, they have something called a diversity of tactics. Are you familiar with the term?
Yes.
That means you must let other leftists engage in violence and not condemn them for it. Allow them to do it. You are marching in solidarity with people you know are going to be violent. You know they plan on doing it. You don't intend to stop them. You're same group. Same group. You're just basically saying you've got a militant wing and a non-militant wing. And you're saying, well, we don't agree, but we're going to let them do it. We're here standing alongside, arm in arm with these people. It's like, okay, look, no, the whole group, they all agree with this. they all agree with the ideology, they don't believe in free speech, then they don't get free speech. I give them what they ask for. And so be it. I think they should be happy. They should be blessed. These are people who think physical force should be used against people because of their political opinions. And now the police are intending to do this. I say, wow, aren't you so lucky you're getting exactly what you think should be happening? The thing about these far leftists, they don't understand. In these revolutions, the group that is targeted first by the revolutionaries is other revolutionaries. The people who could upset their new power.
Yeah, the radicals. The radicals that actually were part of the revolution become the biggest threat to the revolution.
Exactly. The people who knew how to do it, the people who did it, they want all of the passive workers who mind their own business to keep going about minding their own business while they take power. And they seize the means of production. But the revolutionaries know how to upset power, so they got to go. What these people don't realize is they've stood outside on the soapbox and demanded the police crush free speech. And the cop walked over and said, obliged, and then started arresting them and went, oh no, why is it happening to me? And I'm not going to bat an eye. I say, okay, I'm down, whatever.
If you flip over the game board, you don't get to be protected by the rules. Sorry. No passing go, no collecting $200.
Yeah.
If you decided to violate the terms of the game, no, not you're not going to benefit from it.
It's the rules they asked for. They said, here's how we play now. And I was like, okay. And then they get hauled off to jail and they're shocked. And they demand that I protect them? No. I'm here to protect people who agree with liberal values. I said the other day, if there's a Muslim communist who is preaching on a soapbox why you should have, Islamic communism in your state or whatever, and someone comes up to protest and counter them, and he says, good, someone to debate me, speak so they can hear your ideas and I'll prove you wrong. I'd be like, leave these men alone. They both want to speak. They both agree. I will defend their right to speech. But these people physically attack people and then get mad the police are attacking them. And I'm like, why? It's your own ideology. It is your tenet enforced as you have asked it to be enforced. It's just, oh no, I can't believe it's happening to me now. Look, if a person sets a fire, yeah, that fire could burn you. That's the fire they set and they're getting burned by it.
Yeah.
Okay, we want to make sure we put the fire out. I don't want people to get burned, but we arrest the arsonists. You know what I mean?
Well, we've had protests in London for the last 7 months. And even if they weren't violent, which they routinely are, they are calling for jihad and intifada. And they're not in Israel, so they're calling for it against the UK. So you're declaring your intent to wage violent Islamic revolution. I would like you all locked up or deported accordingly. But then this is the major contrast that shows you that the far right are the real enemy in the post-war liberal mind. It's that they have fired fireworks at police horses. They have carried placards with swastikas on them. They have chanted for intifada, and they broadcast from the river to the sea using a projector on Big Ben during the ceasefire vote during Parliament. Nobody gets arrested, even though they knew where the projector was. But then on St. George's Day last Tuesday, a bunch of football fans and their kids gather in Westminster wearing the St. George's cross, which has been conflated with the far right, even though it's the national flag. The police kettle them in and charge a police horse through the group of parents and their children. So they start active fights because they consider expressions of patriotism by the native population to be a provocation, because it reminds them that suddenly we're not a melting pot with everyone being able to lose their values and their ethnic and cultural baggage the moment they set foot on British soil.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.